Let's go.
Well, welcome everybody, and thanks for joining us at our webinar this afternoon. My name is Dion van Aert here at Solutions. I'm the marketing manager here at Solutions PT, and I'm sure most of you are familiar with Zoom. The chat function is there if you want to say anything to us, and I normally break the ice at the beginning of a webinar with inviting you to exercise your fingers a little bit and get and by telling me where you are from, your city and country that you're from. So if you could quickly just jump there into the chat and maybe just let us know, okay, where are you guys from? City, country. See, everybody's very shy this afternoon. Maybe I'm just not seeing any messages. Looks like nobody wants to tell us where they're from. They're very shy. Maybe it's about privacy. I've got no idea. Okay. Oh, the chat is this. Oh, the chat is disabled. Oh my goodness. Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know how that happened. Oh, sorry. I am so sorry. It should be active now. There we go.
Hey.
There we go. Sorry, I didn't realize that was done there. Okay, we've got from Argentina, yeah. Buenos Aires, Aberdeen, Scotland, Port Talbot in Wales, Stoke-on-Trent in England, Nantwich in the UK, Reading in the UK, Reading, and so it goes on, Aylesbury, Aberdeen, Germany, Stevenage. Sorry. Okay, guys, thank you very much. And sorry again about that. Well, most of you also realized you could use the Q&A. So please, if you've got questions during the session this afternoon, just put them in the Q&A. We'll answer them at the end of the presentation. And then in Zoom itself, you can change your configuration in what it looks like. So there's that little handle in the middle, and you can make my lovely face bigger or smaller, or make the presentation bigger or smaller for yourself. Another thing I just wanted to bring to your attention is that we shall be hosting our annual user and partner conference on the 7th and 9th of November. It's called Exchange. It's about exchanging ideas, expanding your knowledge, and exploring all the new solutions that we and our suppliers have to offer. Now, this is our first event after lockdown, so we're very excited to be once again able to see everybody face to face. On 7 November, it's in Ireland. On 9 November, it's in the UK. And now I shall be using the chat. So if you look at the chat right now, you will find a link with more details on our event. So we invite all of you to join us at the event. Okay, but today we're not here to talk about Exchange. We are here to talk about all the interesting stuff around AI and machine learning and that kind of stuff. And to talk about it today, we've got two very distinguished gentlemen. I was going to start off by saying the beautiful Ian Kilner, but let's just keep it professional this afternoon. Ian, you from Solutions PT?
Yeah, I've been with Solutions about 11 years now for my sins, Dion, and loved every minute of it. So I started out in basic account management. I've done area management, I've done key accounts, and now I look after our partner channel, so partners and SIs and OEMs across the UK. And I've got a little team that helped me do that. So I should be familiar to quite a few people on the call today. So hello.
Hey, great to have you, Ian. And then we've got the lovely Michael Hobbs. Hi, Mike, and you from Optimal?
Yep, that's right, Optimal. I'm based up here in Aberdeen. I'm the technical manager for Optimal. So I've got a background in reliability engineering, maintenance engineering. Throughout my career, I've done this in a whole variety of industry groups, from oil and gas, energy, but at the other end of the scale, FMCGs, pharma, bit of food and bev, so a bit of everything across quite a long career in a variety of industries. So really great to be here. Looking forward to getting stuck into this.
Lovely. So we've all got the right experts here to talk to us today. And Ian, what are we going to talk about?
Yeah, so the title of the webinar, The Rise of AI Industrial Machine Maintenance. We're going to start out by having a look at some examples of artificial intelligence and machine learning in our everyday worlds. I think that most people may or may not be aware there's quite a lot of examples that we use artificial intelligence, machine learning day to day, and there's been quite good examples. Then we're going to move on to dispelling 6 common myths of artificial intelligence or machine learning. Myself and Mike sat down and we had a chat about the sort of things that customers talk to us about, and we're going to address those points of view over the next few slides. And then we're going to have a look at the art of the possible with Aviva Insight, which is one of Aviva's flagship cloud-based solutions, on which many of the opportunities are able to be offered out via that solution, as it were. Then we're going to have a look at some example architectures. And then we're going to have a look at the importance of having an expert delivery partner in someone like Optimal. And then we'll have a look at some real world examples of how companies have actually benefited from this technology. And this isn't dreamware or vaporware. This is real. It's now. It's available to you guys, and not just in maintenance. We're going to have a look at other examples as well. So we begin with AI and machine learning in our everyday world. When we thought of the title of this this webinar, this is the first thing that sprung to my mind, right? And I think it's safe to say, don't worry, the machines aren't out to get us just yet. There is a massive difference between intelligence and consciousness. So just to put that to bed straight away, don't worry, this stuff is safe. Joking aside, Mike, we've got some really good examples of everyday life, right, where artificial intelligence, machine learning resides.
Okay, here's one that we're probably all familiar with, nice and straightforward. Google Mapping. Everybody uses it. Everybody's comfortable with it, but it's doing a lot more in the background. It's up to date on road problems. It's not just providing the mapping function. It understands where there are delays and things like that. We get to our location where we've navigated to. It can help or suggest based on previous history, could be restaurants, retail outlets, things to do. So the pattern is built up. It can then give you some great suggestions, understand what you've been doing and where you want to go. So it's more than a passive map.
Absolutely, and I had no idea when I was doing a bit of research for this that they use satellite imagery to actually use artificial intelligence, machine learning to actually update the maps to give better accuracy on when roads are built or changed. And also looking at things like these days about hotspots where you might have drivers at certain parts of the day where you're getting glare in their eyes, and you might get like heavy braking and so on. So it can actually predict where you might be able to tell people to slow down. etc., etc. And these days, even if you're in a traffic jam and it's telling you that this is still your fastest route, even though there's a crash on the way, that's because AI is predicted by the time you get there, that crash should have dissipated. And then on to the next one, Mike.
Yep. Bit of a theme here with sports and finance. Moneyball, it's a movie. Some may know it, some may not, starring Brad Pitt. It's about how sport has adopted predicting or trying to make the best judgment on things like purchasing young players, strategy, and so forth. And simple analogy that I came up with, it's well established that people study the form of horses, greyhounds and things in races and try to second guess what the outcomes are. This takes this to a whole new level and is a fundamental part now of sport. Ian's got some good examples of this.
Yeah, exactly. So the likes of Brentford FC and also Liverpool are well renowned for using this technology to predict the price of, or the value of, or performance of players, younger players and also experienced ones. Sadly, either they're behind the curve or they haven't got on board just yet, but United haven't been using this technology. And that could be one of the reasons for their recent, dips in form, shall we say. So
I'm taking you a United fan.
I was born and raised in the shadow of the theatre of dreams, Dion. So for my sins, I have to support United. It was good in the day. But no, moving swiftly on. So I think this is one we discussed. This is a great example, right, Mike?
Yep, it's a good one. Deep Blue versus Garry Kasparov.
Yeah, so this is 1996. This is the first time that a AI or human programmed chess software beat a sitting grandmaster at chess. It was just Garry Kasparov back in 1996. And ever since then, human programmed chess software has been battling it out to try and become better and better over the years, and it's obviously much better than humans these days. But that's not why we're really talking about this particular example. This is what I wanted to get into. So Stockfish, I believe, Mike, you've got a bit of information about Stockfish.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, Stockfish is a chess engine. It is pretty much the definitive one. It's been around since about 2008. So there in 1996, when we had the first sort of computer battle, things moved on considerably and we ended up with Stockfish. So up until now, we took that as the yardstick by which chess, sort of machine versus human chess, could be judged by.
Absolutely.
But it then moved on suddenly and very rapidly.
Absolutely. So 2016, a new contestant entered the ring, and after the arms race of the AI programmed human programmed software, AlphaZero was born. And now the difference between AlphaZero and Stockfish is pretty simple. Stockfish is programmed with strategy. It's told, what to do in certain circumstances, given the vast experience of humans and its own learning over the years. AlphaZero was just told the basic rules of chess. So it was told the end game, how to win, and how the pieces moved. That was it. And then it was told to play itself, to learn machine learning, to learn how to win at chess, given its own experience of playing itself. It was then told to play Stockfish 100 times, and the results were quite interesting. So after 100 battles, AlphaZero had actually won 28 out of the 100. And you think, well, that's not too bad. That's pretty good going for a brand new, out of the box chess engine. But when you realize that they then drew the other 78 times, you realize that AlphaZero never lost.
Yeah.
And what makes that even more astonishing is the amount of time they gave AlphaZero to learn, the machine learning algorithm to learn the game of chess. They actually only gave it 4 hours.
Yeah, 4 hours.
4 hours.
Amazing.
It's astonishing, right? But okay, so those people who are tuning into this webinar are probably a bit late, probably thinking, what on earth? They're blathering on about chess. Well, I guess the point is, to try and imagine what machine learning or AI could do for you or your, production facility, your process, your game of chess. Right, Mike?
Absolutely. So what does it mean, insight? What is it? Okay, well, in very simple terms, it's the provision of information, and that's the key thing. It's actionable information. okay, yes, it's cloud-based, and yes, it's SaaS, which stands for software as a service. So everything is these days. But what does that information mean? Well, from my point of view, as a partner company, speaking to operators of plant in the real world, real life users, it's about the better and more effective management of the assets. Now that could be maintenance, but it could be operations or support. It could be anything really. And we'll see this with some of the use cases later. They're pretty diverse, but all of it reflects into the economics of the plant. It improves the bottom line, makes the plant run and operate, or allows us to run and operate the plant in a much more effective manner. And that's the key thing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, on the face of it, is a KPI reporting dashboarding solution, but it does come with a whole host of Swiss Army knife of other modules you can add on. And out of the box, you get things like automated analytics and also condition-based monitoring. And you can add on. We'll see like later on in the webinar how you can add those additional modules on as required. So onto the myths.
The myths.
Right.
So we're going to work through a few of these. There's 6 in total, as Ian mentioned. These are the things that we came up as perceptions, or things that were perceived to be difficult or blockers. So we're simply going to work our way through those and dispel and rebut those myths. So straight in, first thing, it's AI. It looks very expensive, but Ian, is it too expensive? Is it expensive in the first place?
No. So Aviva Insight is an cuts out of the box software as a service solution. It's designed to be easy to set up, easy to maintain, and you get an awful lot of functionality in a very cost-effective manner straight out of the gate. So you know, we get out of the gate, you get automated analytics, which requires, you know, just 2 weeks worth of data to put in there before it starts offering you actionable insights into your data. And also condition-based monitoring, which is the ability to put set points against parameters of your process to be alerted when those parameters goes out of the required parameters. And those can be set up, you know, by you know, anyone can set them up. I can set them up. And on top of that, you've got these modules for guided and also advanced analytics. These might be useful for you know, for companies with higher downtime costs or greater efficiencies they want to make. But they, again, because it's software as a service, you don't have to pay for licensing, you know, expensive licenses up front. This is, you can switch these on for a month or two, have a look at the value proposition, the use case for your particular scenario, and make a very quick decision whether they're going to be useful or not. And if they're not, switch them off. But I guarantee you switch some of these on, you look at some of the return on investments, and later on the lines in these case studies. So next, on to the next one, Mike. So artificial intelligence, machine learning is only relevant to asset performance management, so machine maintenance. What say you to that?
Well, no, for starters. Okay, sure, there's some maintenance orientated aspects in this. Some of the predictive and asset reliability metrics, for example, condition monitoring, directly related to maintenance. And of all of that sits within the broader asset performance management, which is part of the total asset management. But additionally, there's numerous processes, operations that are covered as well. So we've got some examples coming up here. Quality, throughputs, reduction of wastage, for example. Other things, throughput, energy efficiency, energy usage. Again, these will all be touched on later in a little bit more detail, but no, it's not a maintenance predictive tool. It's not a maintenance management tool. It's part of the broader, bigger asset management.
Absolutely. So we get customers who use it to predict things like clean in place, right? So
yeah.
Clean in place, very prevalent in the dairy industry. They'll have a timed bi-weekly or weekly or bi-daily shutdown process to clean all the pipes to make sure the quality of the product is sufficient. And they can use this to predict when it's required, not on a time based. You must take it down, which means longer periods between downtime, higher productivity, and higher efficiency in terms of producing the products going forward. And we'll see some more examples of that later on in the webinar itself.
Yeah, and I think one of the key themes that will come up is that move away from default calendar operations, and that's going to be prevalent in operations, maintenance, throughputs, and so forth. So it's that condition-based, predictive-based that we're moving to.
Absolutely. So next up, is it just relevant to heavy industries, Mike?
No, not at all. You've only got to look at the spread there. We've got everything from heavy to light industries, food and beverage, FMCG. So that's the fast moving consumer goods, manufacturing, in other words. There's probably many, many more. In fact, the combinations of equipment types, locations, industry groups is probably, well, there is no limit. I mean, there will be commonality between some of those. There's a lot of things around asset reliability and energy efficiency, which will be equal throughout. So very much as a solution, this is not about something that originates solely within one industry group. It is something that has applicability right across the board, and whatever industry you're sitting in, whatever these verticals, there's no limit or hindrance or any reason why this should not work for you.
Yeah, it's a good example. We recently sold advanced analytics to a vertical farming company. I won't name them, but they're actually using it to monitor things like irrigation, pH, CO2 levels, humidity, and then looking at the predicted outcomes in terms of growth patterns versus the reality, and then using models to be able to indicate to operators you know, what they need to do in order to bring that back into the alignment of the growth patterns they would expect. So, you know, absolutely not a heavy industry, one that's requiring, you know, data to produce better efficiency and optimal performance for the product that they're producing.
Yeah.
Okay, next up, we're looking at well, do you need data scientists to set up, maintain, or make sense of the output of APM? And
so that's a very good question. Do you need a team? Do you need legions of analysts beavering away at keyboards across many, many desks? Ian, what's your view on that?
Yeah, so I mean, the straight answer is no. All of the solutions that I've personally sold and we've sold have not had any data scientists that I know of been involved with them, or analysts. You know, you can actually set these up yourself in terms of condition-based monitoring. So it's what you actually need to do is, you know, yeah, absolutely not. You don't need scientists. This is drag and drop. It's low code, no code. It's plug and play.
Yep.
You know, with a bit of assistance from a good partner like Optimal, you can get yourselves up and running, and you can be fairly self-sufficient on the base levels of automated analytics or guide analytics. These are, you know, these are solutions being put in by engineers and maintained by engineers and getting real useful outcomes on those. So no, you don't need a, you know, 100 grand a year data scientist to set this up. And indeed, as you can see from the video, that it's very much like a Facebook type scenario. Google, you're searching for tags. It makes it easier to find things, set things up, and create dashboards which would be useful depending on the use case for the people who want to use that information or find that information.
Yeah, it's intuitive. I think that's the key, isn't it? You just follow and you're off. So that really leads on to the next question. Do you need historical data? Do you need OEM data? Do you need years worth of data to be pumped into it in any form? So what's the story there, Ian? Data?
Yeah, well, I mean, there is this myth that, you know, you need lots of operating data from the past, or you need, you know, manufacturers' data about the stress points of it, or operating points of a particular piece of machinery. Yes, absolutely, it helps. But the more data you have, the better. The most basic levels of asset performance management, so the automated analytics, for instance, only takes around 2 weeks to get interesting insights or observations on the data being fed through to you on the newsfeed, and that happens automatically. So as soon as you put data in there, it looks at it and it says, "Oh, this is a bit unusual. Maybe you want to go and have a look at this." It's that simple. Moving on to condition-based monitoring. Again, this is out of the box functionality with Insight. This all you need to know about this is what the normal operating parameters are. So you can set alerts against when it goes out of that normal curve, in order to alert when something's not normal. It's a bit like when you're in the car, right, and you hear something, a new vibration or a new noise. You should be taking it to the garage, right, your motor. And this is a similar, you can't do that in a plant. You can't, it's very difficult to walk around and listen to or take sensors information on a regular basis. So this automates that for you. And what you need to know is simply know what is normal. And with a bit of data, for historical data, you can work out what that is pretty rapidly. Obviously, guided and advanced analytics just requires knowledge of your process, right? So again, we're not talking about building from the scratch up. This is not coding. This is not you don't need a data scientist to do this. You just need a detailed knowledge of your process. So whether you're an SI who looks after somebody's process for many years, or indeed you're a producer who obviously has a deep embedded knowledge of your process, then you can use that knowledge to set those up and get real good use cases out of them. So obviously the more data you've got, the greater confidence of the model of the output, and models will get better with more time and data. But you can start off with a limited amount of data and refine, and obviously those things like guided or advanced analytics can be switched on and off as you need them.
I suppose it's the onboarding time there, yeah.
Absolutely, onboarding time is minimal. We're talking weeks to getting actionable output from something like this. So it's not just a case of do you need the data? It's how quickly can this start producing real benefits to your company.
Right.
Absolutely. Next up, Mike.
Well, one question that we've been asked in recent months is it only suitable for companies with these very large or very high cost assets, very significant costs of downtime? The answer is no. We touched on the wide range of applicable industries and what you can do with it. So no, absolutely not. And in fact, Ian's going to just take us through a little example, which will hopefully you will see tick off all these 6 aspects. No, they are not a large multinational global corporation, and this is a real example. I think it's a really good example because not only does it deal with all 6 of the issues that we've raised here, but it's a real local kind of family-run firm application with a really good and successful outcome. So Ian, tell us about the peanut butter.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is one of my clients pre-lockdown, pre-COVID, and they actually bought Insight initially just to get an idea of capping volumes on their production lines, and then they started using it for things like condition-based monitoring, putting basic sensors or sensors into the cloud to monitor basic attributes of their major technology or the major assets they have. And they had an issue where they picked up I think it was an electricity spike on their main milling machine, which crushed peanuts. And it obviously this isn't normal. It sent out alerts to the engineer and to the maintenance team saying you might want to give this a look because that's a bit weird. And when they did, they found that the main bearings on the axle had been crushed, and the feedback was that this wasn't just a potential downtime issue. This was potentially a potential fire issue as well. So, risk of life, risk of reputation, and it saved them a huge amount of time and energy and money. So just purely on putting on basic sensors into their or monitoring basic sensors on their main equipment. Yeah, so great that they're not data scientists, they're not a big company, they don't have huge amounts of money, they don't have, their margins are low on their products. It ticks all the boxes and it dispels all the myths that we've discussed so far, right, Mike?
Yeah, it is a really good one because that could have been game over for them in the current circumstances. It would have been difficult to have come back. And the other interesting thing is it was electric monitoring, and electricity usage does play into the condition of machinery. So starting to draw more current, starting to generate heat and so forth. So it was a good indicator that they very quickly responded to and dealt with something that was very potentially serious.
Yeah. So move on and to have a look at some architectures.
Yeah.
So go on, Mike.
I was going to say just to say there's just
right?
the two different real types here. There's lots in between. It's not my field, so I'll let Ian go into detail. These are not the only two architectures that we've got. Just about everything can be covered. So Ian's just going to take us through two typical types, but can be assured that everything in between is and can be covered.
Yes, this is just a typical architecture. We've got multiple sites feeding into a single insight cloud-based solution to enable those things like advanced or guide analytics or even condition-based monitoring to be offered out to the individual users. So this is a base where you have different dashboards, different use cases at different sites, but it also gives those higher up an insight into the efficiency of each of those sites, and also downtime reason codes, that kind of stuff. So it's a one-stop shop that it feeds from the local sites in different ways. We'll see, there's many different ways you can get data published to the Insight cloud, and we'll have a look at those couple of those examples now. So this is one where you might well have machinery or devices with embedded smart capabilities. We may have sensors already built in that machinery. If so, it's a really simple case of being able to connect those sensors up and get them into the cloud via a number of different either REST APIs, publishers, or via things like OPC-UA or MQTT. There's an awful lot of ways of getting data in there. So, as you change equipment out, you may well find that you may have smart capabilities embedded in that technology already. If not, okay, you can put, there's an awful lot of embedded data within control systems already. And I think, especially the clients I've spoken to in the past, are sometimes very shocked and surprised about how much data is actually buried within their automation systems, right? So if you're looking at NAS, if you're looking at, your OI server, your PLCs, your SCADA, your HMIs, you can plug into any aspect of that, or your historians. And it can be any, so as we know, Aviva is agnostic. It'll connect to any device or any piece of third-party software.
I've also got an example for you.
Go on, Dion.
Yeah, over my right. I actually forgot about this. Yeah, I don't know if you remembered my plant sitting on that side. Absolutely. Some of you who've been to our webinars would recognize my plant on the side. That is connected to Insight. It's got a little microcontroller there, connected into the cloud, controlling the watering, the moisture levels of my plant, and that's using the AI in Insight to alert me on conditions that are unfavorable for my plant.
And it's looking very like it's benefiting from that, Dion.
Well, no, this is version 2. I killed the first one.
Okay,
so brutally honest there, Dion.
Brutally honest with the importance of having an expert delivery partner like Optimal, Mike. Tell us more.
Absolutely. So in terms of asset management, we provide the domain experience, the expertise there. So we bring the asset performance management together under our banner of ARAS, which is the Asset Reliability as a Service. That's the sort of coverall that brings all the reliability and maintenance related aspects together. So it's reliability and maintenance, but it's all about the systems and the delivery of them. So we've got some cutting edge tools ourselves and the asset management expertise. And that really only deals with the first bullet there, domain expertise. So the other things that are important to us are collaborative approaches. So it's very important that we work together for a common benefit, a common outcome. And it's also very important that we have a shared vision of the successful outcome for our clients. So we want the same thing and we want to move towards that same end goal. And it wouldn't probably surprise many people to know that people can work in these partnerships, but each have a different vision of where it's going. That is something that we want to avoid. So we're very clear about our shared vision, and that comes through from transparency, no hidden agendas. We collaborate, we have that single shared vision, and that enables both ourselves and our partner to deliver to the end user, to the customer, something that really works for them. That's our common goal. So, yep, domain expertise is good, but there's a lot of other things that play in, and we work hard on that to keep the end user going where they want to go with this.
Yeah, that's great. Absolutely, I would concur completely, Mike. Absolutely, very important to select the right delivery partner, as it were. Okay, we're going to have a look at some typical customer achievements when they're deploying something like this, right, Mike?
Yeah. So first one there, improvement in uptime or processing uptime. Fairly obvious, fairly straightforward. The more machine time you're gaining, the better your productivity, the better your operational efficiency. And we've got some slightly more detailed use cases coming up to illustrate this, but basically, the longer you're up, the better your productivity, the more advanced warning and better management of downtime. Inevitably, there will be some downtime, but some people are managing it better than others. And those that are well managing it have a good grip on all the advanced warnings. They're better planned, they're better foresight into that. The next one is very, very relevant. Energy costs. Everybody is struggling with energy costs. It's not just the producers of equipment, materials, and so forth. A rail company, for example, electric railways, transportation, you name it. But in the factory sense, in the production sense, it's not just about understanding how to operate at a sweet spot for energy usage. There's also a connection into maintenance again. So we come back around to maintenance in that poorly maintained equipment tends to use more electricity, generally speaking, or energy, gas, whatever. It could be energy you're wasting through leakage of compressed air around systems, gases, nitrogen, and so forth. So reduction of wastage plays into energy usage. Good maintenance plays into better energy efficiency. I think you've got an example of that as well, haven't you, Ian?
Yeah. So I was just browsing the news the other day, and I came across a news story for Robinson's Bakery in Manchester. So they had, I think their average annual bill was something like £17,000 a year. And then they got a renewal subscription come through saying that you have to sign up now, and it's going to cost you £78,000. And if you sign now, and if you don't sign now, within 6 months, we're going to send you a bill for £250,000 per year for your energy. Now that kind of, that's on a small, again, a different family-run business, based in Manchester. They bake bread effectively in rolls, and you can imagine that the impact that can have on such a smaller company, never mind someone who's bigger, multiple sites, heavier usage of energy. Absolutely. And then we move on to 100% first pass quality. So if you follow the Aviva guidelines, what they're actually guaranteeing these days is you can apply this stuff, advanced analytics, to things like changeovers. We've got production facilities who have got lots of different products, and every time you change the line or change the product, there's typically a period of wastage whereby that the machine isn't quite set up correctly, and it's causing a loss of product, a loss of raw material, and a loss of energy. And if you add in advanced analytics, they can now prescribe the conditions based upon the environmental conditions and the conditions within the plant, to ensure 100% quality first time through the line. I mean, that's an astonishing thing to put your reputation behind from an Aviva's perspective. So not just asset performance management, but this is to do with quality, throughput, efficiency.
Yep, you mentioned cleaning, didn't you?
Yeah.
Throughput, wastage. I was surprised at that 100, and I challenged Ian to back that one up, because it seemed like a very high 100%. But yeah, first pass quality 100%, brilliant.
Yeah, and again, 90% reduction in hardware development costs and consulting costs. This is comparing it to, say, a typical implementation of something like an analytical software program. This is, like I said, this is out of the box. It's low code, no code. It's drag and drop. It's the ability to be able to set up the alerts yourselves, or be able to input the different parameters or different tags into a guided analytical model, or indeed an advanced analytical model. You don't need data scientists, you don't need data analysts, and obviously it's based in the cloud, so you don't have any hardware costs or maintaining those hardware costs, etc. as well. So yeah, a massive reduction in the typical implementation costs and time in terms of this sort of solution. Okay, we're going to look at some case studies now. Yeah.
Yep, a few here. We're not going to get into the detail. What we're trying to do here, again, is just illustrate the diverse range of application and usages, because they're not all the same. This first one here, with a specialist film manufacturer, is about uptime, so straightforward, trying to improve the uptime. If you've broken the run, that you get breaks, which are very costly, so there's product loss, that needs to be sorted out, so you lose uptime. Now what they did, they were drawing data from Historian and the MES system. Now the MES is the manufacturing execution system, so they were pulling information and building monitors to continuously monitor the line stability. They took about 500 variables, which gave them an advance warning of the likelihood of downtime. So it wasn't necessarily saying the downtime wasn't going to happen, but I mentioned just now that in uptime, having that advanced warning enables you to prepare, plan, and then when it does occur in the time frame you expect it to, you deal with it, and that's where your uptime improvement. The other thing to point out is that the return on these is very quick, and that's going to be a common theme with the ones that we're going to look at. It's very quick payback from a 1-year subscription. This one 30 to 60 days. So after a couple of months, they were getting these measurable uptime increases and the reduction in unexpected breaks in the product line.
Absolutely. Yeah, the ROI on these solutions are ridiculous, to be fair. And yeah, it just goes to show quite how effective and efficient they can be, adding value to a customer. Next up, energy.
Yep, energy. Back to this again, and I think this is just even in the course of time that we've been preparing this webinar, the impact and the need for energy efficiency has grown even just in the last month or so. If you're a large producer, as this was, you're committed to reducing energy usage, not just for economic reasons. It looks good to have a lower footprint. Targets will often be arbitrarily set to reduce energy usage, but how do you prove that? How do you measure that? So in this example here, it was a consumer product manufacturer. We're talking about water, air, gas, obviously electricity, steam production needs a lot of energy. But I mentioned some things like the use of gas, the use of compressed air. So if you've got leakage and you're monitoring your electric usage and you're seeing compressors and things cutting in all the time, then you're wasting electricity. So it's coming in from a variety coming into a variety of energy usages. So it was a predictive energy model in this case across different process types. So that went through from the making, i.e. the production, the converting, that's the latter stage of the process, and then packaging. So all the constituent parts of the operation. Basically, they were looking for the sweet spot for their energy usage, best way to minimize wastage when activities were not required. So quite a complicated model, but simple objective, get that energy efficiency.
Yeah, and again, ROI very quick, 60 days.
Yep.
Astonishing, really. Predictive asset life, Mike.
Now this is another one, again, a very diverse. So we've got data centers here, 450, power supplies, backup power supplies, UPS systems have got to support those. Very important for the data center not to have a loss of power or a loss of backup power. They need to have confidence that the system is operational to the full capacity. Now, previously, this was done again largely on a calendar in a very old-fashioned, homegrown, it was in their case, monitoring platform. So very, very typical of some legacy systems. What this did was predict when those UPS systems were getting tired, old, getting near an end of life, and was extrapolating that forward and enabling the data provider, the data center operator, to change out and check UPS systems ahead of when they were likely to fail, thereby giving them the confidence that if, whenever, outages and the like don't happen to any particular schedule, they were covered. So what they were doing with this was they were, if you like, buying the confidence in their system, in their UPS support.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a great example. And then move on to predictive quality. So we've discussed this earlier on. I mentioned it briefly, but this is a good example where this is a pet food manufacturer looking to reduce scrap from startups or formulation changes. And what they're looking at is putting in variable data, so things like the raw material, so the density, the moisture, the fat, the protein content, to monitor those sort of different process variables, and then be able to identify when those the golden line, as it were, moves out of that sort of predicted perfect curve, and then offering the insights to the operators to do corrective actions prior to that product going off quality, as it were. So yeah, I mean, a really good example. Again, this is not just asset performance management. We're talking about predictive quality here, and like I said, Aviva are actually putting their money where the mouth is a little bit in this one, and saying, as long as you adhere to our guidelines, that we can actually guarantee 100% quality first time during changeovers. And again, it goes back to not just a waste of products, because raw materials are more expensive these days, but the loss of energy, because you're using machines that are producing things which are then used to scrap. And you're obviously going to get better, things like better throughput or better efficiency as well through models like this. Again, 15 to 60 days payback time on a 1-year subscription plus implementation. Ridiculous turnaround in terms of ROI. So yeah, really good example. And I was going to say, it's these solutions are not vaporware. They're here, they're now. The advent of AlphaZero was 6 years ago now, and this trickle down technology is available, it's proven, and it's cost effective. So if you're looking at things like reduction of energy costs, better efficiency, lower downtime, higher throughput, higher quality, higher productivity, then these solutions can offer you that at a very cost effective rate and a very quick payback. So get in touch. Okay, so Mike, talk to us about sort of next steps and so on and so forth, and where we go from here.
Yeah, sure. Well, we've hopefully answered some of the questions and dispelled some of the myths. So that might put you in a position where you want to have a go, you want to have a try, and just explore whether it really works for you, which I'm sure it will do. So what we're able to do here, so we've got a pilot scheme. What we can do is have a go, set something up with anybody that's interested. It'll give you an opportunity to see how it can be applied in your use case. We can provide some visualization, some analysis of the data, and start to gain some actionable insights. That's one of the key words all the time. These are actionable insights. So there's a no obligation pilot scheme. I think it's 45 days of uptime. So we can pop that in. It can be set up. Basically, you can sit back and see how it's going, see what it's telling you, and really get used to the look and feel of this. See how it compares to your expectations, because we've given you hopefully a very diverse selection of use cases, but there's many of you out there in lots of different industries, and the problems around energy efficiency, quality, throughput, uptime are really the same for everybody. So if you'd like to see how that works out in your plant, in your process production, your location, get in touch with myself or Ian, and we can set something up and we can show you how it really works for yourself.
Absolutely. I mean, everyone's got their own version of chess, right?
That's it. Well, sounds brilliant.
Dion.
Yes, should we go on to the questions and answer? Okay, so as I said in the beginning, if you've got questions, let's just pop them into the Q&A section. First question we've got here: is knowledge of Python or similar language advantageous to the use of the software? How much? Well, that's the first question. So
let's just address that to begin with.
Yep.
So in terms of automated analytics or condition-based monitoring, absolutely not. You wouldn't use Python or any coding for that matter in order to set those up. Similarly for guided analytics, that's about understanding what process parameters may affect a particular, say, downtime or outage use case. So again, it's about understanding what can feed into that to build that model. Again, you don't use coding for that either. It's only when you get to advanced analytics, and even then it's minimal. If you want to plug it into additional algorithm type analysis, then you might want to, but again, that's, it's not necessary. Certainly the examples there were used for the vertical farming, they're not using anything like that for that at all.
And I suppose it's this whole thing of technical debt that you incur the moment that you start coding.
Oh, absolutely. And then it's having to maintain that technical depth. So again, this is a low code, no code, out of the box solution. I cannot stress that enough. You do not need to be proficient in Python in order to use this.
Okay. Then the second part of it, and I think it leads on to that in this question, is how much is it customizable? So that's an interesting question.
Yeah. So again, so as it's an out of the box software as a service solution, and it's cloud based, it is configurable. So you can change the look and feel for Insight for different users' experiences. For example, it's not going to be completely customizable like you would do if you were going to build something from scratch. But I mean, the headache that comes along with building something from scratch and having to maintain it and having to buy in the resources in order to build that in the first place is vast compared to the cost of Insight. So there might be I'm not going to say there won't be any constrictions. But in terms of getting up to speed quickly, getting a quick return on investment, and doing something without the need of expert analytical experts, then this is certainly the solution for you. But yeah, it's configurable. It's a bit like any Aviva software, right? When you look at InTouch or System Platform, it's configurable to your requirements, and you can tailor it for your needs. But it's not as, you can't do everything you'd want to do with it necessarily to an nth degree, if that makes sense.
Okay, so those are the two questions. Oh, here's another one. Out of curiosity, is the AI software based on Prolog, a non-procedural language that works on rules and facts?
Good question. Don't know.
Okay, easy one to answer.
I'll second that because I don't know either. So we will find out.
Yeah, we'll find out and come back to you on that. I mean, one of the beauties of AI and machine learning is that even the people who build these things, sometimes the analytical models, they're not quite sure. I'm sure they do, but most of the users don't know how it works, and certainly I don't know the detail of it. But we can find out what it's based upon. It's obviously based upon an analytical model or a software that allows you to give that functionality. So we'll come back.
I did see a similar question, Ian, whilst just looking. You mentioned the DeepMind with the chess, going back to chess again. I did see some sort of Google question saying, where can we get it? How much is it? Where can we buy it? The answer is no, you can't.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely not.
But you can access this technology easily.
Yes, this is accessible.
Yeah. The next question, I'm just seeing our time is running out. Does the solution automatically convert the Modbus or Profibus or any other protocol to MQTT?
Yeah, it will do this. So on that point, I've not come across a client or a device or a protocol we can't convert into a language that can be put into Insight natively. Depending on the security requirements, of which we've had a few odd ones for different reasons, we might need to find workarounds. We've never found a solution we can't get a workaround, and also do things like checks and validation, for instance, in terms of checking the actual data validity and so on and so forth. So we've had quite a lot of connectivity requests, and yeah, just like any other Aviva software, this is agnostic. We will find a way. If we haven't got a native way of connecting to it, we'll find one. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I know all those protocols we cover.
Yeah, 100% they do. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. The next one is, does Aviva Insight automatically tune the hyperparameters of the model?
Depends on what. So if you're looking at advanced analytics, that's the kind of capabilities you're looking at in that module. Again, I would need to speak to someone else more technical myself, Dion, to answer that confirmingly. But yeah, that's a kind of functionality that's available at the top end of the different modules you can add into Insight.
Okay, thank you very much to both of you. I think it's been very insightful. Excuse the pun.
No, not excused.
Get in touch, Dion. That was the old.
That's the old one. If you can just advance to the next one for us, Ian.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Don't forget. So, if you want to learn more, this is the thing. If you want to learn more, of course, Ian and Mike gave their contact details. You can contact them. And if you're still skeptical, come and have a look at our user conference exchange in November. Please make sure you book. And doing my marketing job properly once again. I was going
to say, Dion, don't forget that on the 8th of November, if you're going to the UK one, we're putting on either, you can buy a round of golf at a championship golf course, or you can go and shoot some discs out of the sky with a bang bang stick if you want to.
Oh yes, I forgot about that. Thank you, Ian, for reminding me. Yes, we have a kind of like a social day in between on the 8th. So between the two venues, you can play a round of golf with us, do some clay pigeon shooting, or just relax with us at the Belfry Resort, which is a very, very nice resort. So I hope we see lots of you there at Exchange. And
that's those events. So those additional events. That's just purely for the cost of the accommodation. Effectively, she basically buy.
Oh yeah, it's like for nothing. Yeah. So go to those links that I just put into the chat. You'll get the detail. So Mike, thank you very much from Optimal that joined us today. Thanks a lot, Mike, for all the input.
Very great to be here. Very, very pleasurable and fantastic to meet everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, great to see you all. And thank you, Ian.
No, thank you, Dion. It's been a pleasure as always.
Okay.
Yeah, and thank you to our the people who tuned in and those watching on repeat. I hope that was an agreeable experience for you, as it were.
Okay, great. Okay, guys, thanks a lot for joining us, and we'll see you next time around.
Yep.
Cheers.
See you again, hopefully.